like me, he was a weakling, and he couldn't drag the chest out to bury it. So he engaged Big Liz, one of his slave women, to carry it out to the Greenbrier swamp and had her dig a hole where it was buried. But the scoundrel then took his sword out and beheaded Big Liz, so no one could talk about where that treasure was. And ever since, over 100 years now, people have reported periodically seeing the ghost of Big Liz in the Greenbrier swamp. She's a headless ghost who's actually carrying her beheaded head. And if you ever get to that area of Maryland, they say that you can summon her by flashing your headlights 3 times and tooting your car horn 6 times. And so anyone who's in the Maryland area, you might want to check that out at the Greenbrier Swamp. And that makes me ask, have you ever been to Maryland, Benny?
No, I've not been there. I remember I was very intrigued by that story as I was doing the editing and everything on the Dr. Rule show. I really enjoyed that. It sort of almost reminded me of, I guess, like the Headless Horseman, and as you would tell the story, I would get really, I could imagine this, in my head. And even the way you would, have to, blink your headlights, it's sort of those little things like that, okay, like Bloody Mary. You have to do a certain, a pattern to summon the ghost,
Yeah, Chicago's ghost, famous ghost.
What is it that you have to do by this certain pattern? Is it just like a part of the incantation or the thing that allows it to come? What is your take on that? Because it seems like every story you hear, there is like a pattern you have to follow to get them to come.
Well, we don't know how much of this is myth and how much is fact. It may be that somebody just happened to, for instance, the case of the Big Liz, happened to toot their horns and blink their lights and that summoned the ghost. But I think it's worth a try, and I'd like to see one of these TV shows such as Ghost Hunters actually investigate this case, because it's one that I've known about for quite a while, but I haven't ever seen it covered on TV. And speaking of Ghost Hunters, especially Ghost Hunters International. Pardon?
I hate to interrupt you, but I put Miko through just now. I've seen him pop up.
Okay.
So, Miko, are you with us?
Yes, here I am.
Okay, welcome to the show, Miko.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on the show, sir.
Okay, Mask, since we're talking about this, have you personally had any ghostly encounters?
I myself have not. I've always wanted to. I've gone ghost hunting in cemeteries. I live in Virginia, and in Richmond, Virginia, there's a Hollywood cemetery with a lot of activity that I've tried, but I myself have never actually experienced it. So. Right there.
Do you live in Richmond, Virginia?
Yes.
That's interesting. You're not too far from me. That's interesting.
Okay.
I'm down
Hey, you're in Kentucky?
Yeah.
And I was just covering the case of the Greenbrier Swamp in Maryland, which isn't too far from you.
Oh, yes. I'm actually in Baltimore right now. I just finished a DJ set at a Gothic Industrial Club here in Baltimore, Maryland. So that's not that far from here.
So you could go to the Greenbrier Swamp in a car and flash your headlights 3 times and toot your horn 6 times and see if you can summon up the headless ghost, Big Liz, who's carrying her head.
I could try that, actually. I do have GPS, and I have some friends here, and we're ready to do something after this club.
Hey, that would be
fun.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Take your camera and see if you can get some, or at least video,
or
whether anything happens or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The closest to any activity that I've had is taking pictures, and I don't know if you covered this because I just called in. If you covered orbs at all, orb phenomena.
No, we didn't get into that yet, but I know that certainly on TV, for instance, on Ghost Hunters, they often photograph orbs else. And the question is that just something mechanical from the equipment being used, or is this the spirits of the dead? What do you think?
Indeed. Well, that's the thing. If it was just with your standard 9mm film and it only appeared on that, or only on digital film, or only on one sort of media, then I would say it could be a mechanical or technical issue. But since it's on such a wide array of media as well as video camera, I like to think that it's more than just something technical. I think it's something unexplainable or something that we have yet to figure out.
That being that you said it, Miko, I remember one time I was playing with a video camera that I had bought, and I remember when I watched back the video footage, there was this orb, and it would, it would just appeared, and then it would sort of move around where I was at, and it stayed in, through the whole video, this orb. And that was really the first time I had really gotten into orbs. I'd heard people talk about them, but after I actually was seeing this on the footage, I began to look online to see exactly what they were. So, yeah, it's interesting, and they're more interesting if you do look at them on video because you can watch the movement of the orbs, Unlike with a camera, I guess, sometimes it may be dust or whatever, but, yeah, still photos, so it's really nice. I've not had that happen a lot, but that one time I've actually had that orb appear, in the video, and I thought that was the most amazing thing.
So where did this occur again? I'm sorry?
I was in my living room playing with the camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I just was watching back the video footage, and I just thought that was amazing, that because there's a lot of weird stuff that happens where I live anyway. There's a lot of negative energy, and like I've always said, I live in the darkest corner of the earth. A lot of crazy stuff out here, Out here where I live is a good place to make a good Rob Zombie film. He should come out here and make some movies.
He should. I'm a big fan of Mr. Rob Zombie. So.
Oh, yeah, he does good work.
Yes, I played one of his songs earlier tonight during my set. So.
Oh, yeah, which one?
Oh, Dragula, but a remix of it to more techno beat.
Oh, yeah.
But it all keeps
I love the remix
dance floor going.
So I was going to say, as far as the TV shows such as Ghost Hunters and some of the others, one complaint I have, especially with Ghost Hunters International, is that they're going to a foreign site, but they're calling out for the ghost in English. And I've always thought they should have a translator, somebody who speaks the local language, because it's unlikely that the ghosts are going to understand them. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to have a response, but at least they should take that extra step. Do you not agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree that they need to make that step. You make that effort.
I've seen...
what foreign places are they going to?
Well, Ghost Hunters International, they go to all around the world, Italy, Turkey, Egypt, etc. But they're always...
I believe those guys, Ghost Hunters International, is the only ones I've actually seen mess with, somebody that speaks the language, the local language.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Whereas Ghost Hunters just stays in the U.S. I think they've gone out a few times, but outside the country. But they do the best job they can with all the equipment and the staffers, so I commend them for that. But that would be my only fault. I was going to say that, again, I feel that with all the, skeptics say, well, why are some individuals seen as ghosts? Why are some dead people? Why do they return and manifest themselves as ghosts, but not all? And we can't answer that. All I can say is we have such an accumulation of evidence, so many cases reported from every sector of the globe, that there must be something to it. I don't think it's just fabrications or imaginations. But why some and not all, we cannot answer that.
Now, I have a few theories. I have a couple of few theories if you'd like to hear them.
Yeah,
on
go
that.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, it gets more, I'm not in any way as educated as you, Dr. Roll, but, I'm a bit of a fan of sci-fi and physics and science and whatnot. But, I like to think that perhaps it's all just energy in different forms that some people are tuned to perceive, whereas others aren't. When you get to your senses, people with poor eyesight tend to have better hearing or better sense of smell or taste or any one of the other senses. So with that, perhaps certain people who are lacking in either poor hearing or poor eyesight could, maybe have that sixth sense and perceive, ghosts, or whether they're paranormal or spiritual. I like to think it's more of a harmonic type of energy. I know I'm kind of throwing out some terms that I'm not exactly the expert with, but, I'm a firm believer that there's just the spectrum that we can't perceive automatically. There should be others, that are more sensitive to it. And that's
so
why
what you're suggesting is that perhaps all the dead remain as ghosts, but only some people are able to perceive them.
Exactly. And it might be, because everyone has that stigma, that ghosts are, spooky. All the skeptics, want to talk about how, only crazy people think of ghosts and whatnot. But then your most skeptical people are also the most religious people, and they're going to buy into, whichever faith that they have and believing in a higher power, yet they're going to be totally skeptical of any type of paranormal activity. And I think that that's kind of a little bit hypocritical or just a little bit backwards thinking, that if they're going to accept a higher power, and yet they don't accept other unexplainable phenomena like that. They dismiss it as either being satanic or negative, when really it could just be, like I know that others have talked about that everyone kind of leaves a trace of their own energy behind, and that's what could be the ghost. When you have such a either positive or negative energy in any type of dwelling or abode, it kind of leaves it like a recording. Like with video cassettes or, audio cassettes, even if you recorded over it, there's still that trace background noise of what was prior recorded on those. Perhaps that's how it is in our own perception of reality, that people leave their trace elements. If someone regularly sat in a chair, did any type of routine, routine behavior in a given area, then naturally there would be some kind of residual energy from that.
Well, yeah, I agree with you completely on that. What's interesting, a lot of people think when Jesus says, in my Father's house are many mansions, they think that it's literal, but if you do a word study on that, what Jesus is talking about, he's talking about frequencies, he's talking about the universe, So exactly what you're saying, that's exactly right. Even with words, like when you say words, I guess like if you're dealing with spells or whatever, certain words has a certain energy to make things happen. So yeah, everything is energy, So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I definitely think that we all leave echoes of ourselves wherever we go, even before dying. That there's still echoes of our own energy in certain areas. So like with radio waves, they keep going on and forever out into space and whatnot. So what's to say that our own bioenergy isn't, going out as well and kind of residing, to different levels that most people can't perceive yet.
Two points I wanted to make. First, what you said about having, for instance, those with poor eyesight have more acute hearing and senses of smell. There's just a study reported the other day that the blind actually, the brains of the blind actually compensate and do indeed give them more acute senses of hearing and smell. So, again, we have this wide variation. But we also have, for example, I mentioned my mother saw her father manifest before her as a dwarf in Western outfit. We have people in orbs. So you have a wide spectrum of manifestations of the dead before they leave. And I just reported on this case with the one movie director who woke up one morning in Los Angeles and he heard this voice that said, stay, say you won't go, when he had an argument with his father years earlier about coming to California to be a movie director instead of staying in Europe as a banker. And then the door rang about 11:30 that morning. Telegram came that his father had died overnight, and he learned later that he died precisely at our time, 2:15 a.m., when he had the message. And he only heard the voice. He didn't see anything, didn't feel anything, just the voice of his father. And his mother had told him that the words he heard were the final words his father uttered on his deathbed. So we have a wide spectrum of manifestations of the dead after or at the time of death. So orbs are just one part.
Doctor, we've got about 50 seconds left. You want to go ahead and take us on out? Again, before you take us out, Miko, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure. I wish I could have got on earlier and had some more time with y'all.
Okay, well, perhaps we'll have you on again next week or in the future, if your schedule
Oh,
permits.
excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
And for our audience out there and for you, Miko, and for Benny, until next time, may the power of the cosmos be with you. Yes, yes, yes.